Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Andrew Stott, I'm the Emperor of Stomaria, and today I want to talk about how Stomaria is governed. So, as many of our supporters will know, the Empire of Stomaria is a federal absolute monarchy. And this is because the system that we have in place, the structure that we have in place, is based on this fusion of provinces, protectorates, associated states, and to a lesser extent, observer states. And I wanted to take a quick minute to go through these. I have gone through them in the past, but for the purpose of this video, I will just quickly go over them again. So a province is land that is owned by the imperial family, and it is governed by a member of the imperial family or a member of the Stomarian nobility. A protectorate is land that's owned by the imperial family, but it is governed by the highest authority of another micronation. An associated state is land that is owned by the highest authority of another micronation, but that micronation has decided to join Stomaria. They've decided to freely associate with our community. And an observer state is a micronation in which the highest authority of that micronation has expressed their desire to join Stomaria, to join our community, but they don't yet have that physical territory. They don't have that land yet, even though they might be striving to attain it. And that's a big part of becoming an observer state. It's sort of the entry-level kind of tier, if you like, for those micronations who may be aspiring to attain and achieve what we have and what we are trying to do. And the reason we wanted to include those within the community is because we are sympathetic to those who are looking to achieve something, to aspire to achieve something, but aren't quite in that position to do that. And Stomaria itself, until merely a few weeks ago, a month ago or so at this point, didn't have private freehold land to its name. So I completely sympathise with those that want to become involved in the community, but don't yet have that land. And so that's why we have the observer state tier, if you like, in order to allow people who do not have private freehold land to become a part of our community until they reach a point where they do, in which case they will become an associated state if they so wish. Now, that all aside, just for the moment, I wanted to talk quickly about the entry level stuff, in the sense that the bare basics in how Stomaria is structured really starts with the citizenry. So in terms of becoming a citizen of Stomaria, this is something that people have been able to do for some time, but it's only relatively recently, relatively speaking, that we have the system that we do now, in which supporters become citizens through Patreon, in which they contribute £1 a month to the Empire of Stomaria to show their support to the community. And it helps us to separate the wheat from the chaff in that sense, because I've got no shortage of people that shout to the heavens how much they support what we're doing and want to get involved and think what we're doing is the greatest thing since sliced bread and all the rest of it. But then they never are able to pull that trigger and contribute £1 a month to the community. And for us, it's not really a financial thing, in the sense that obviously there is a financial transaction taking place, but £1 a month isn't going to jettison us to the next level, if you like. It's not going to spur us on any more than it would otherwise. But what it does do is it helps to separate the supporters who are a bit more fair weather, I suppose, from committed Stomarian citizens. And this is very important to us, because Stomarians that add value to the project are people that we have more faith in, we trust more. And there's not really any more to say about it than that. It's about citizens adding value to the community. This is something that I think is always important in any micronation, frankly. I think just having people sign up through some sort of online form, or just saying, if you're a member of my social media platform, Facebook or YouTube or whatever else, you're automatically a citizen of my micronation. It just doesn't add any value to the community, and it doesn't inspire confidence that the citizenship that these micronations say they have are actually genuine or real. And without sort of ragging on other micronations, micronational systems too much, this is the system that we have chosen to adopt, because it means that anyone from anywhere in the world can become a citizen of Stomaria by pledging a tiny token gesture saying, I support you, and on a month-to-month basis, I'm going to renew that support. I'm going to prove on a regular basis throughout the year and throughout the years that I am a committed Stomarian citizen. I am going to keep contributing my pledge because I support what you are doing. So that's the entry-level stuff. Now, in terms of citizens influencing the governance of the micronation itself, that's not really a thing, in the sense that we are not a democracy. We do not allow citizens to vote on particular topics or particular issues. We are very top-down in that sense. And I don't want to get into this too much, but the long and the short of it is, because we are a micronation that is looking to aspire to achieve something in the real world, because it involves private freehold land, because it involves the pursuit of acquiring private freehold land and property, we cannot have just random people from the internet from around the world dictating what we can and cannot do with that land, with that property, with that territory. And there is a lot more to it than that. I have made videos about this before, but the long and short of it is, because of the nature of what we are, because of what we're trying to do, it does require a slightly more top-down kind of governance structure, and that's why we are structured the way we are. However, citizens that want to play a more active role in Stomaria, they do have the opportunity to fill certain positions. Now, this might be members of the Imperial Guard, for instance, but it would also, and for the purposes of this video, will be more practical to discuss, positions such as ministers or governors. And just to reiterate, this is something that we do not do lightly. We don't simply appoint people as governors because they've joined up as a citizen 2 months ago. It takes a lot of time for us to get to a position where we trust a particular citizen enough to be able to manage it, and they have to prove themselves far beyond simply becoming a citizen. That's just entry-level stuff. You're through the door when you become a citizen. But if you want to actually attain a position of some importance or notoriety within the Stomarian community, then you have to prove your worth. You have to show us that you are committed to Stomaria, that you understand what we're striving to do, and that you're not simply going to walk off when things get tough, because at times things will get tough. And so once we've identified particular individuals within the Stomarian community that wish to attain greater levels of influence or control over what we're doing, we will consider appointing them as governors of particular territory. Now, this is something that we're going to do going forward, not so much now, in the sense that we have territory, we have the land, private freehold land, but it's a very small amount of land, and that's currently being governed by King Raoul of the Kingdom of Wayward as a protectorate. And once we get more land elsewhere, near where other citizens reside, we will likely appoint governors at that point. But, as I say, it is dependent on the commitment of that citizen. We don't simply appoint people as governors because they're close to a particular plot that we might purchase in the future. There has to be a reason, a rationale, and a security, I suppose, in appointing that person into a position of power and authority over that land. But that aside, once a governor has been appointed over a particular territory, they become a province if they are a Stomarian citizen, because they will likely form a part of the Stomarian nobility as well. Because I think the way we're going to be doing this going forward, and the way that certainly is going to be going forward in the immediate future, is that a Stomarian citizen, if they prove themselves worthy of governing a particular territory, then they are more than likely worthy enough to become a part of the Stomarian nobility. Now, a Stomarian noble is a lord or lady that is appointed by the Emperor or Empress of Stomaria. And this is basically a way of showing the rest of the Stomarian community that this particular Stomarian citizen has done something to elevate themselves to a point where we recognize their contributions as a significant, that has had a significant impact on Stomaria itself. And this tier, this title of Lord or Lady, this opens up greater levels of opportunities for Stomarian citizens that attain this position. And governors and generals in the Imperial Guard and all the rest of it are some of those titles. And something they all have in common is that they all form a part of the Imperial Court. Now, the Imperial Court is an advisory body within the Empire of Stomaria. It is the highest level you can attain, aside from being a member of the Imperial family, which, unless you're married into it, is not likely to happen, or being born into it, I suppose, but we already have one, so we'll work with that at the moment. But that all aside, the Imperial Court is an advisory body for the Emperor and Empress of Stomaria, and this consists of not just Stomarian nobles, which will likely take the form of generals within the Imperial Guard or governors of particular territories, but it will also take the form of the highest authority of other micronations. So King Raoul of Wayward, Queen Neve of Molossia, Consul David of Vesta, and various others. I could go on and on. There's so many now that are getting involved. It'll take me a long time to rattle through them all. But the point is, they all form a part of this advisory body. Now, in the past, over the last sort of 6 months or so, we have had relatively irregular meetings and relatively unstructured meetings, in the sense that we have these video calls in which everyone is invited, that forms part of the Imperial Court, and we discuss whatever topic might be of some importance on the day, as well as other ones that prop up or other people think might be interesting or important. We have since adapted that slightly, in the sense that more people have become involved in the Imperial Court to the point where we need more structure, and so we are creating agendas, and we do have someone from Wayward who has agreed to, I don't know what the right word is, chair the meeting, I suppose. They're going to be taking minutes, they're going to be making sure that the agenda stays on track, so it doesn't sort of deviate too much from the conversations we want to discuss on the day. And it's going to take more of a formal sort of setting, which is something I'm very much looking forward to. In fact, we have the next scheduled meeting in a few weeks' time, and that will be the largest, or is likely to be the largest meeting that we've held to date, because of the number of Stomarian nobles and the number of the leaders of other micronations being involved in Stomaria has never been higher. And so I'm anticipating a lot of attendees on that particular meeting, and it's going to be very exciting to be able to discuss a range of issues with each micronation being able to put forward something they want to discuss if they so wish. Now, going on that a little bit further, the way that we're structured, in the sense that we are a federal empire, we are a federal monarchy, this is because all of these different micronations and micronationalists that have become involved in Stomaria, they want to become a part of something larger. They want to form their own community, and that's something we want to encourage and something we want to promote. But they also want to form a part of Stomaria's empire. And so with that in mind, the way that we're structured, the way that we work, is that the domestic policies, if you like, the goings-on in each micronation, that has very little to do with Stomaria itself. I'm not involved in the daily goings-on of each of the micronations that form a part of Stomaria. They're largely left to their own devices, and that's very much intentional. I am not here to dictate to any micronational leader what they can and cannot do with their micronation, within reason. And I say within reason because there are some caveats to that. There are some red lines, some conditions that these micronations have to agree to in order to become a part of the Stomarian community. Now, the most obvious one, the major one, is that they cannot have foreign relations, or formal relations, if you like, with other micronations outside of the Empire of Stomaria. And this is to ensure that we have a common foreign policy. And the reason for this is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Again, it's something I have gone over in the past, that effectively it prevents micronations within the Empire of Stomaria from having different relations with micronations outside of Stomaria. So, for instance, if Wayward had a trading agreement with Micronation A, but then Micronation A declared war or sanctions or something against Bran Howell or Selassie or Morland or whoever else, then the relation just doesn't make sense. Now, in order for Stomaria to operate effectively, we have to be viewed as one entity. From the outside looking in, we have to be viewed as one entity, even though that within the Empire of Stomaria itself, we are very much sort of doing our own thing. We're all working towards a common goal. We're all supporting one another where we can. We're all part of the trade network. We're all part of that community spirit, if you like. But it's very much a case of when it comes to relations with other micronations outside of Stomaria, we are of one voice. Now, there are going to be times in the future, I have no doubt, where this will be challenged. There will be micronations that try to establish relations with other micronations outside of Stomaria without our approval, without our say-so. And in situations like that, in the most extreme situations, we will issue, or more specifically the Emperor or Empress of Stomaria will issue what they call, or what we call, an Imperial Edict, which is effectively an ultimatum and is the only real power and authority that I have as the Emperor of Stomaria when it comes to holding micronations that make up Stomaria together in terms of keeping them in line. And this is something I've never had to do because the micronations that are involved in Stomaria have been very supportive of what we're looking to do and have not sought to drift beyond the parameters that we've set. But if there was ever a situation where that did arise, we would issue what we call the Imperial Edict. And this is an ultimatum which effectively is us saying to them, step in line, do it our way, or you will be expelled from Stomaria. And that's, as I say, because micronations and micronationalists, this is all built on voluntarism. People voluntarily associate with Stomaria. People voluntarily join Stomaria, both as private citizens and as the highest authorities of other micronations that are incorporating their micronation into Stomaria's empire. It's all voluntary. It's all through voluntary association. And so there is no mechanism in which I can force someone to do something against their wishes. I can't use the threat of violence or coercion or blackmail or anything like that. Not only would I not have that power anyway, but even if I did have that power, it's not something I would want to do at any rate, because what would be the point? The idea is to build an empire of harmonious trade partners that share certain values and objectives. If someone doesn't want to become a part of that community and someone doesn't want to follow the rules within that community, I'm not going to hold someone against their will to preserve the integrity of Stomaria, because I think, if anything, doing that would contribute to its dismantling. I would rather cut loose those micronations and micronationalists that would seek to do their own thing outside of the community than trying to retain them, trying to keep them in, trying to hold them in, because I just don't see any long-term benefit to that. I think it's a good way to foster resentment. I think it's a good way to foster dissatisfaction, and I don't think, as I say, there's any benefit into trying to hold on to people, micronations or individual micronationalists, if they generally just don't want to become a part of the Sumerian community or remain a part of the Sumerian community, and so it's not something we aspire to do. But all of that said, the authority of the Emperor and the Empress of Stomaria is absolute in certain circumstances, in the sense that, as I say, because Stomaria is based largely on the acquisition of private freehold land, that land is owned by someone. And if it is a protectorate or a province, it is directly owned by the imperial family. And if that territory is mismanaged or governed poorly or ineffectively, we obviously have absolute control over that from a legal macronational perspective. And so we can simply dismiss the governor or the highest authority of another micronation that's been appointed to govern that particular territory and appoint someone else that will do a better job. But as I say, in terms of keeping people out of the community or keeping people in line once they're within the community, it very much, again, it boils down to, if you don't like it, leave. And if you don't like it and you won't leave, then we'll kick you out. That is the authority, that is the power of the the emperor or the empress of Stomaria, of the monarch. Because, as I say, because it's all voluntary association, there's nothing else, there's no other recourse, there's no diplomacy to be had if red lines are crossed. It's either you're in or you're out. So if you wanted to become a part of the Stomarian community, then please feel free to become a citizen through our Patreon campaign, the link of which I shall leave in the description below as always. You can also find the details of the other micronations that make up the Empire of Stomaria in the description below as well. But otherwise, if you did enjoy this video, then please feel free to give it a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll catch you in the next one.